Hey everybody, Gisele Grenier here. In this class, I'm going to be teaching you how to do a very simple abstract landscape painting with just three colors. We're going to do an abstract ocean scene. So I'm going to go over the supplies, the mixtures, and all that stuff. I would say with this, let's say if you were to allocate an hour to this, it may take you less. Think of half an hour for prep, 15 for painting, and 15 for cleanup. And depending on how much you have prepared ahead of time will determine cutting down that prep time. So on the table, what I have is I've got my DecoArt pouring medium, DecoArt Media Fluid Acrylics Primary Cyan, Cobalt Teal Hue, Titanium White, and I have my DecoArt Media White Gesso. And I've got my three little containers with the paints already mixed up. I'm going to go over these in a second. And then I have a little 4x6 masonite panel. And what I've done with this is I've applied 3 layers of the gesso, thin even layers, let it dry. And I did these all ahead of time. Now this particular one here is upcycled. There was something already painted on there in acrylics and I just painted it over. And that way I can reuse it. I've got a pad of palette paper here which will catch all the dripping. I've got my gloves here, and I also have some DecoArt Glamour Dust. And I was thinking, and as an experiment for this, to add some metallic paint into this, but I want to try using this Glamour Dust. All it is microfine glitter. Okay, that's completely optional. And then I have my bamboo skewers that I cut into smaller pieces to make them go further. So I love using the fluid acrylics because they're already thinner in consistency, meaning I can use more paint and less of the medium. So the ratio for the fluid acrylics is 2 part paint to 1 part of the medium. And what I do is I use little medicine cups to measure because they're already marked, and then mix everything up. So this is primary cyan with a little bit of titanium white. Okay, so 2 parts this to 1 part of the medium. And I didn't need a lot of this color. And because there's 2 colors already mixed here, I will always mix it again just before I use it. This is the Cobalt Teal Hue. I wanted more of this one. And again, this is the 2 parts paint to 1 part of the medium. And because I'm filming under some warm lights, I've been spraying them with a little bit of water. As the moisture evaporates, the paints get thicker, which sometimes can cause some problems during paint pours. So I just thin them down with a little bit of water. And then titanium white. This one's very, very fluid. Okay. So I'm going to put on some gloves. And this is to be a very basic lesson just to get your feet wet on doing a paint pour. Now when doing a paint pour, whether you're going to use a masonite piece or a canvas, you should try to have it suspended or placed on top of something so the actual paint can drip over. And all my painter's pyramids are with another painting. I'm going to use my little medicine cup and I can just suspend it or put it like that. I can say suspended. It's not suspended. It's just put the piece on top. Okay. So I'm going to mix that again and put that aside. That aside, and I'm going to put just a little bit of, because I don't know if this is going to affect how the paint will flow, just a little bit of a glimmer because it's a little ocean scene, so I want some of that sparkle just in the blue. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to work because now it's all gone. So I may, well, you know, we'll see. All right, so when you're doing your paints, the color that you put down first is going to attach itself to your substrate right away. Then colors you put on the side, and everything will mix together. So what you need to do is figure out what color is going to be the dominant color. Well, the dominant color with this is going to basically be the Cobalt Teal Hue and Titanium White. This darker blue with the white is just to add a little bit of contrast, almost like the shadows inside the water. So I'm thinking that will be what I put down first because it's the smallest amount, and then I will flow these down. So what we're going to be doing is a direct pour, so directly pouring onto the piece. If you were to mix the colors together, like just pour them into another cup and just put them on, that's a dirty pour. We're not doing that. We're actually going to be putting the paint, individual colors directly on the board. So there's no right or wrong way really to do this, other than if you're able to squeeze the cups to create a little funnel, that's fine. I've got straws that I've actually cut ooh, into these shapes here, which will, do a fine pour. I'm just trying to figure out, oh, I got paint all over here. Now is basically to get the paint into here, and that's going to take some experimenting. That's for another project. So just because this will come out likely thicker, so I'm going to create almost like X strokes, and this is to get it going. Okay, and let's get a little bit darker right here. And all right, and then let's put some white. The white is much more fluid. This is really wet. Want it in between all that, and then the blue. See, the blue flows quite nicely. And then you can choose to add more colors. So, you can leave it like this if you want, but what I'm going to do is, oh, you know what? To show you what else, I'm getting another tray, another cup. So I can move this around and actually pour it. I won't catch everything. Look at that. Now that's what we're looking for. And I was hoping to do a little bit more moving around. I'm leaving this just the way it is because I instantly was inspired by a scenery as we're planning our trip to the Bahamas, and an aerial view of some of the islands, and this is the color of the water. So I'm going to put this over here. And then on my drying rack, I'm actually going to put that down, put that on top of there, and then let it dry. I give them 2 days. With this though, the way it looks right now, if we just take a snapshot of this right now, this is not likely going to be what it looks like when it's dry, because what's happening is that there's nothing in this house that's level. I mean, this place is like, I don't know, 30 years old. Nothing is level in this house. So even Joe built me a drying rack that has leveling feet. Even off a little bit, the gravity changes, which is what's going to happen here. So even though to the naked eye we won't be able to see it, the paint's going to shift slightly, and because the white and the cobalt teal is much more fluid than the primary cyan, the heavier paint won't move as much. The more fluid paint will move. So, and as moisture evaporates, so all these different variables are in there. So we'll take a snapshot here and we'll see what it looks like in a couple of days. Well, we're back and it's all finished drying, and I'm going to give you an extra bonus in here to basically talk about the varnishes. I am going to show you how to varnish this using the actual varnish made for the pouring, but there's the pros and cons in using that, and I'm going to talk about that in a sec. So let's go down the table, and here we go. There's the piece. Okay, you can see it's got some different finishes to it, and this needs to be protected. So what I've got is I've got a tray. This is from cabbage rolls from Zerkie's, and I'm going to put my little cup here, and this is where the leftover cups from other projects, reuse them and just use those to put your piece on for varnishing. So for this particular project, I'm going to show you the actual clear pouring top coat. Now the pros and cons with this is that the pro is when this goes on, it's like glass. It's absolutely beautiful. The con, indoor use only. So if you're going to be doing something, putting it for outside or really high humidity, no, don't use this. Use a polyurethane varnish, which I want to talk about after I show you this technique. So always read the instructions on the bottle, and I poured it into a smaller cup because it's easier for cleanup, because I can actually, squeeze to control it. So basically what I like to do is I like to pour from the middle, work outside, and then just tilt There it goes. Let it drip over the sides. You have a waste. Now you can try it. If your container's clean, you can scoop it up and put it back in the container. I probably wouldn't scoop it up and put it back into the original container in case there's contaminants. Then you're going to get those contaminants in your paint. So it's up to you whether you, or in your artwork. So it's up to you whether you want to scoop up the varnish. In a clear container, that's fine. So I'm just going to, and with practice, you'll know how much is going to be needed. So I'm going to start with this. My palette paper is all curling. And the humidity and heat in your home will also have a direct effect on this procedure, because right now it's super cold and things are slow to move when it's super cold, but when it's really, really hot, like it was a couple days ago, the stuff is just like loosey-goosey, really, really fluid. So if you had like maybe just a couple more cups, I could actually just take the container and just do the turning. I only have the one, and you just keep turning it and turning it. So you can see it's not flowing very well, so we are going to have some waste. I don't like wasting product. And what I could do, I can try, take this cup, put it in here. And I got new disposable gloves at Princess Auto. They had a massive sale yesterday. Joe said, let's go there. Got a thing of 100 for $6.99. So I can just, on the one side, here we go. I'm not going to get it all in there. I can't see because I'm trying to get the angle so that it stays on camera. So I'm not quite sure if you're able to see what I'm doing here. Hopefully you can. So all I'm doing is I'm turning and turning and turning, making sure that it drips over the edges. And go this way. It is very slow moving because it's cold. Oh my God, this is like watching paint dry. Literally. It's like molasses. No, molasses is not this thick. Okay, so it does self-level. Now, what the instructions say, you don't leave it flat, you leave it on a bit of an angle. That way all the excess drips out, and that's where you have the waste. So what you could do is you could use, if we were to use, like let's say this cup and this cup, I actually have a little tray already made up for this, like that. And then all the excess is going to drain off. And what you're going to be left with is a thin, crystal clear, protective hard coat on top of your piece. So yeah, I'm glad I got the gloves I bought before were $100 for $15. These were $100 for only $6.99. Yay for Princess Auto. So once you're done with that, you just throw the gloves away, take this, put it aside. This stuff here, if it gets on your skin, it's not toxic, but boy, is it hard to clean up if it dries. Which, see, now I just got it on me. Okay, so I'm going to move this aside. Move. Bring this stuff here. Now, I already have a blog post written up on a bunch of varnishes. I'm going to link it below. Susan created the graphic for me. Seven pores, seven. Sorry, Susan. 7 pores, 7 protections, or something like that. Oh, sorry, Susan. I don't remember what you called it. So let me just talk to you about this. So we use the top coat. Okay, so indoor use only. You can also use triple thick. Now the triple thick, again, it's crystal clear. Now the triple thick is good for hard finishes. So let's say if you're going to do a paint pour, let's just say on fabric, don't use triple thick because it's not flexible. Okay, so you've got it in a bottle format and then you have it in a spray format. Again, always follow the directions. This is what I prefer using. The Americana Duraclear varnishes. These are indoor, outdoor. And look at all the different finishes you have. You have from high gloss to satin to soft touch to matte to ultra matte. But these ones here, indoor, outdoor, and like I said, there's another blog post that covers what all these finishes look like. But these are what I like to use because it's indoor, outdoor. So when I'm creating my rock paintings, if I'm doing a canvas and I don't know where it's going, I will use this type of varnish, because if you're doing a painting, especially something that's very textured, and it's going in a high humidity area, let's say, I don't know, a kitchen where it would have to be cleaned quite a bit, you don't know how you don't want to send a set of instructions 2 pages long, don't use water, don't use hard, chemicals, don't use this. So using an indoor outdoor varnish is just one extra protection in case the people use a little bit too much water on their sponge when cleaning their canvases. I don't know how people clean their canvases. Okay, but this is what I use. Use whatever you want, but this is what I use and stand by strongly. But if I know it's going to be for indoor use, absolutely guaranteed. Like I did the pot. I did a paint pour pot, and that one I already put plants in it, and they're all succulents. They're not going outside, so I could then just varnish that with the Duraclear, the clear pouring top coat, because I know it's not going outside. But if I was selling that or giving that to somebody, and let's say the plants die and they do something else with it, and let's say they take the pot and they put it outside, these aren't going to cut it. So you're always safe with these. Okay. Anyway, so that's it. So this is going to take a good 2 days to dry. So all it's going to be is that piece with a super duper gloss finish. And what we'll do is I'll show you a snapshot once that's dry. And then you can decide how you want to do your varnishing, whatever varnish you have. Use your favorite varnish, and we'll go. So just to quickly show you, see it's all dripping off there, but look, starting to, it's going to be crystal clear. It's stunning. It's absolutely stunning. Alrighty, so when this is dry, we'll come back, show you a snapshot, and we'll finish everything up. So it's all dry, and it turned out absolutely beautiful. The thing was that when I first did the pour, it looked like the colors and like the islands of the Bahamas and stuff like that. Then as the pour dried, I lost a lot of that shape. So I was kind of hoping I would still have some of that shape, but it didn't work out. But even with that, with paint pours, it's never predictable. So a very simple paint pour, putting the colors on side by side, tilting and experimenting. Basically what happens when you tilt this way, up, down, sideways, and all that stuff. So play, practice, have fun. I would love to see your take on this, so please post a picture in the community along with any questions that you might have, and I look forward to seeing what you create. All right, so until I see you in the next class, stay inspired.